Hi there, my name is Kelsey Miles, and I'm going to be completing the online interview portion of the Ed Prep application. So the first question asks, in my own schooling, did I have a subject area, task, or assignment where I struggled? How did I solve it, and how would I use this experience to guide me in helping my future students? So my senior year of high school, I was taking pre-cal, and halfway throughout the year, about 3 report cards in, I decided to drop it and switch to AQR, which stood for Advanced Quantitative Reasoning. My grade the entire time was borderline. It wasn't getting better with each passing 6 weeks, which was the grading period. I was going to my weekly tutoring sessions that actually took place with a different teacher, not my personal teacher, so I think that's where a lot of the problem lied. I was being taught one way in class, tutored another way after school, and they just didn't mix. Math was never really my strong suit. I wasn't trying to stress out my senior year of high school, and I'd already been accepted to college, which was actually Texas Tech. So all of those reasons were specific to my situation. So if I had a student come up to me needing some advice, I'd explain that, sometimes it's okay to say it is too much. That's what it was in my case. I wasn't trying to have to retake pre-cal over the summer. So I did decide to take an easier class. But you want to make sure that the student is exhausting every possibility before dropping, like going to tutoring like I was, because you shouldn't be able to just drop a class because you want to. You need to show that you've put some effort into it. The second question asks, tell about a teacher who impacted your education either negatively or positively, and how will this experience impact my teaching in the future? So this actually took place this past spring semester at SAM. I took SPED 2301, and I absolutely loved my professor. She always came into class super happy, always sharing a personal experience that related to the material she was going over in class. And I love that she was able to tie all of this stuff together. That's what you're supposed to do as an educator. Make these lessons engaging to the learner. Otherwise, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. So that's definitely something I'm going to incorporate in my lesson planning. You always hear about you need to keep your lessons engaging and relevant to the learner. But it was a home run in her class. She did a great job. So next question asks, what strengths do you possess that will make you suitable to become an effective educator? What weaknesses do you think you have, and how will you address these throughout your teaching career? So I like to believe I'm a pretty crafty and creative person. Definitely want to encourage my students to be the same. I want to encourage them to be creative problem solvers. I feel like that's something I had to teach myself, so I really want to install that in my students. I believe I'm really encouraging. These students are our next generation, and they deserve to be given any resource that's going to be beneficial to their learning. I believe I'm a fair educator. My whole idea on fairness changed last semester with my SPED professor, and I actually now see it as a way to ensure every student is getting the resources specific to his or her needs in order for them to be successful, instead of it as a way to give each child the same thing, because that's not what fairness should be in education. I want my students to feel as enlightened as I did in that moment when my professor was explaining what fairness really meant, because it was the best feeling. It's that light bulb going off in your brain, and you're like, wow, that's what that means. And you feel proud of yourself for understanding. One of my weaknesses, I would say that I can get a bit frazzled when there are too many things happening at once. So that's something I definitely need to work on if I'm going to be in a classroom, because there's going to be a million things going on at once in a classroom. I feel like I am a little better if I feel like I'm overly prepared, but it's hard to prepare for the first day of school when you haven't had your first day of school yet. So it'll come with practice, and a lot of practice. And the last question asks to explain what your relationship as a teacher should look like with your students outside of your classroom as well as on social media. So as always, it's got to remain professional. Teaching is a professional career, and teachers have to keep that in mind when creating these social media accounts. I can think of several social media accounts that I follow on Instagram specifically, and the teachers will actually talk about the lines they draw with students following them and interacting with their students outside of classroom. But I feel like it really is should not be allowed until that student is no longer a part of your classroom. I'm friends with on Facebook with several of my teachers from elementary, middle, and high school, but I haven't had a relationship with them like that until after I was out of the classroom. So I think that's where the line needs to be drawn for me personally. All right, thank you.